Hello and welcome to Algebra 1 4.3 Graphing Equations in Slope-Intercept Form. So we are finally to Slope-Intercept Form. So let's get started. So for those of you who have forgotten what Slope-Intercept Form is, it is y equals mx plus b, and you're going to need to have that memorized. That will be one of the most useful equations you ever learn in math. M stands for the slope, B stands for the y-intercept, and do remember that the y-intercept is a point on the y-axis. It's the point where the line crosses the y-axis. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is to write the equation in slope-intercept form, and the first example says with a slope of 1/4 and a y-intercept of -6. And when you write something in slope-intercept form, you need two things. You need a slope and you need a y-intercept. And if you have those two things, all you have to do is replace m and b with those. And so we're going to look at y equals 1/4 x minus 6. And it's going to be a good thing if you can do -6 and not plus a -6, because you don't need those two signs in there. Alright, so for the other one, again, I have a slope and I have a y-intercept, and so all we have to do is y equals, our slope is -1/2, and then the x, and then our y-intercept is a +3, and so we're going to say plus 3. Next, we're going to write the equation from a graph, and so we still need those two things. If we're looking at y equals mx plus b, you have to have an m and you have to have a b. So looking at this graph over here, there's my b. b equals -3. It's just that y coordinate. And so then you probably want to count your m. And so starting at that point, if we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to count over 2. So our slope would be 4/2, which is just 2, or you could write it as 2/1. And so then I'm going to put those together into my equation, and we're going to have y equals 2x minus 3. And again, use -3 and not plus a -3. So here are your steps for graphing using slope-intercept form, and I would suggest you write them down and you look back at them as you graph to begin with. First of all, if it's not, you're going to put the equation into slope-intercept form, because to graph with that form, it has to be in that form. You're going to plot the y-intercept, and then you're going to count the rise and the run to find a second point, and then you're going to do it again to find a third point, because remember, I want 3 points on those lines, and then you are going to draw a line through all 3 points and put arrows on the ends. So let's see how that looks. So step number 1, is this in slope-intercept form? It is. This is y equals mx plus b. And so let's pull out, what is m? M is 2, which is the same thing as 2/1, and b is -3, and make sure you get that negative sign with it. So step number 2 was to plot the y-intercept on the y-axis. So I'm plotting a point at -3, because remember the y-intercept is a point. And then from that point I'm going to count my slope. So we're going to do up 2/1, and we're going to do that twice. And you are welcome to do it more than twice. You know, there might be some cases that you want to do it more than twice to ensure that you have a nice straight line, or at least use a straight edge. And there's your line. So, first step, is this in slope-intercept form? And the answer is yes, y equals mx plus b. And so what is our m? Well, our m is 0.5, and this is again why I harp on those fractions. I can't do a rise over a run with 0.5. And so what is that as a fraction? It's a half. Alright, and then what is my b? -7, and make sure we know that it is a -7. Alright, so we're going to graph that. We're going to start at -7. on the x-axis. I'm going to pick a color other than yellow here. -7 on the y-axis, sorry. We're going to go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Now at the same time, could I go down 1, back 2? Yes, notice they're on that same line. But if that is a positive 1/2, that line better go up as it goes to the right. So either up 1 over 2 or down 1, back 2. So what happens if it's not in slope-intercept form? Well, your first step would be then to put it into slope-intercept form. So you need to make it look like y equals mx plus b, which means that you have a y all by itself on the left-hand side. That's the important part. Y by itself on the left-hand side. You also want to make sure that your x term comes first on the right-hand side. So the 5x is on the wrong side. So let's go ahead and subtract 5x from both sides. That's going to give you 4y equals -5x plus 8, because you're going to write your x term first. Now that is not y equals, that is 4y equals. So we're going to divide everything by 4. You're going to get y equals -5/4 x plus 2. You're going to leave your slope as a fraction. So in this case your slope is -5/4. Your y-intercept is 2. To plot it, you're going to start at 2 on the y-axis. You're going to count down 5 over 4. Down 5 over 4. If you want to, you could count up 5 and then you would count back 4. Okay, so +5, -4. Draw in your line, make sure to put arrows on the ends. So just a little comment about using slope-intercept form to model real-world data is that the rate of change is your slope and that the y-intercept is always that starting point. So maybe you're going to buy a car and it's going to cost you $5,000 and you're going to graph it. Well, you're going to start then at $5,000 on that y-axis. That's going to be your y-intercept. So that's your starting point, and then your slope is your rate of change. So then maybe I pay $500 a month on it, and so these down here would be months, and it's going to come down $500 every time. So that's 4-3. Remember, use the blog to post questions right now if you have questions. We can get those answered before you come to class. If not, at least bring those questions to class so we can get them answered. Have a good day.